Hello, my name is Steve Joordens. I'm a faculty member at University of Toronto Scarborough, also co-creator of peerScholar, and for the next little while I have the honor and privilege of being your host as you go through this faculty support partner course for peerScholar. I want to start by just thanking you for your time. I look forward to getting to know you in our virtual sessions, and I really hope you enjoy the whole process that you're about to go through. This first video is meant to welcome you to the course and to give you a little bit of an overview of what's coming next. So let's get right at that. So first of all, who are we? We are Cognito. Cognito is the company behind peerScholar, and really I just want to emphasize a few points to you at the outset. And the first one is that we are first and foremost educators. We created peerScholar originally to help with some of the challenges of my large course. Specifically, I really wanted students in my very large course to nonetheless be pushed to think critically, to communicate their ideas with others, and to have that sort of intense interactive experience that's so important to kind of developing our cognitive skills. And so that's really where peerScholar came from, is the goal of really preparing our students for future success. My passion for education also led me into educational research. And so we have a very active lab. It's called the Advanced Learning Technologies Lab at University of Toronto, where we assess educational technologies and create educational technologies. And one of the educational technologies we have created is peerScholar, and that has led us to become EdTech entrepreneurs, which is sort of why I'm interacting with you today. We are a form of third-party vendor, I guess, in the sense that, you know, this technology that we built, we're so proud of it, we want to share it, we'd love to see it have a really powerful impact, and partnering with other educational institutions and having them use peerScholar there is our way, in a very real sense. peerScholar is our vehicle for really trying to enhance the education system in ways that we think are really powerful. So, important point from this, we're educators first. That's the beginning and the end from our perspective. All right. What is peerScholar itself? I'm just going to give you a mile-high kind of sense of it now because we're going to get into it in a lot of detail in the videos to come. But at the mile-high level, it's an evidence-based peer assessment platform that supports the development of core transferable skills like critical thought, creative thought, and effective communication. These skills are called transferable because the idea is that if you get good at these things, say critical thought, this is a skill you can take with you to all aspects of your life, your work environment, and even if your work environment changes, if you're a good critical thinker, you'll probably succeed in a multiple environments. Same way if you're a good creative thinker, a good communicator. And so these are really the skills of success. And peerScholar is really intended to build those skills, to develop them in our students. It involves always a three-step process. So students are always first encouraged just to create some composition. And with peerScholar, it can be any kind of digital composition. So a written assignment perhaps, but also potentially video or audio files, you know, anything. So students are asked to create some composition. That's step one. Then things get really interesting in step two, because they will log back into the platform and now they will see a subset of the compositions submitted by their peers. They'll be presented anonymously, they'll be selected randomly, and the task of the student will be to kind of put on the teacher hat. And one by one, for each of the peers they were assigned, they are supposed to analyze that peer's work and provide that peer with some constructive feedback about how their work can be better. Now, as they do so, they are exercising their critical thinking skills while they analyze the work, their creative thinking skills while they try to figure out how it can be better, and their communication skills as they communicate all of this to the peer. Critically, they do it to multiple peers, so not only are they exercising all these skills once, they exercise them in a repeated way, which is critical to skill development, as we will discuss. Okay, now while a given student is assessing, say, 5 or 6 of their peers, 5 or 6 of their peers are also assessing their work. So in the third phase, the students log back in and they see the feedback that their peers have assigned to their work, they're asked to assess that feedback. peerScholar puts a lot of emphasis on teaching students how to learn from feedback. And so we take this feedback step very seriously. Students are asked to assess each piece of feedback, to literally analyze it in some detail, in a way the instructor can control, and then they can be asked to use the feedback to actually improve their work. This is what's called a formative use of feedback. It's a very powerful way for teaching students how to learn from feedback. And of course, if they know that their final product will be the one that's graded, then they pay attention to the feedback. It's all marks, right? If they pay attention and use it well, they get a better mark in the end. And so the whole system within the system is trying to encourage them to engage in this learning deeply and maximize it because of the value it will provide them down the road. I will mention something really quickly here, which is notice that most of this work is driven by the students themselves. The instructor obviously defines the activity and then ultimately does some grading at the end. But throughout the rest of the process, the students are the ones actually doing all the work. It's a form of active learning. It's sometimes called assessment as learning, but it's very student-driven, which is critical because we're trying to develop these skills. It also means it's relatively easy on the faculty. And so as you support your faculty, one of the things you can tell them right off the top is, peerScholar can develop a lot of these skills, and it'll be very easy for you to use. And it will not require a whole lot of extra time or anything of that sort. So that makes it attractive, right? All right, so that's us. That's peerScholar. Who are you? Shoot, why is that word bridge hanging out there? We'll come back to that word. Who are you? Well, our assumption is that you have a role in the university, and a role that we think is absolutely critical, of being what some people would call a faculty support person or an EdTech faculty advisor. That is, this course is designed primarily for those who are helping instructors to choose the educational technologies they'll use and then to actually use them within the context of their courses. So, that is a role we see as critical. We actually see three functions, and these three functions will map onto the course pretty directly. So first of all, of course, you are what we see as a curator. You're the person that people come to when they have some issue they're trying to solve in the classroom. So for example, somebody could say, oh, you're trying to enhance your students' critical thinking. Do you know about peerScholar? So if you understand peerScholar well and the sort of learning it provides and the way it provides it, then when people come with these problems, if you see the connection and you say, oh, that's something peerScholar can help with, that's a very important role, connecting faculty with effective educational technologies. So one of the things we're going to do in this course is make sure that you really understand peerScholar well and the learning it supports. That'll help you in your curator role. You are also a facilitator. When somebody decides to use something like peerScholar, you are often the first point of contact to kind of get them going, to make them feel comfortable, and hopefully, of course, to get them into a position where going forward, they can just do their own thing. But on those early steps, if you feel very comfortable with the technology and you can show them how it works in a very efficient, effective way, then they are going to be more comfortable with it. And so we certainly want to make sure you have the technical chops at the end of this course to do that and feel good about it. And then finally, this little floating bridge, there it is. We really want you to be the bridge. And it's important for me to step back here now and say, you are performing a really important role. First, generally within your university, these things that you do, they are all helping your faculty provide your students with the best educational experience possible. And that is helping them be successful in their future life. So, in a very real way, you are impacting every student on your campus through the work you do with faculty. We also want to impact that student success and you are our way of connecting with your institution and with your students. We want that connection to be two-way. Of course, we want to provide you with all the knowledge and information you need to support your faculty well, but we would also like you to be a bridge to us, so that stuff you see happening on the ground, like for example, maybe faculty members say, wow, if peerScholar could just do this, then I'd really use it a lot more, or whatnot. We would like to know all those things. We would like to hear all those things. So part of what we're going to do in the course is to try to form a relationship, quite honestly, with you, a two-way relationship where you feel very comfortable connecting with us as well, when you feel like that would enhance the success of peerScholar on your campus. Okay, so how are we going to help you with these things? Well, the course we have in mind, just the process of it is pretty straightforward. First, you're just going to watch some videos. So we're in fact going to have 4 modules, and within each module you'll begin by watching some videos, learning what you can, and they'll be just like this, just like the video you're looking at now. At the end of watching a set, and a set will usually be about 3 shortish videos, 5 to 15 minutes. After watching a set of those, we're going to ask you to perform an assessment to show us that it's stuck, the stuff you learned has stuck. And then at the end of every module, once you've done well on the assessment, you'll be invited to a virtual session where basically we're going to hang out. We're going to chat. We're going to chat about your thoughts, your reactions, any questions you have. If you've started to work with faculty, you can bring in any of your experiences. We will also share with you some successful use cases that you can bring back. But to a large extent, these virtual sessions are going to be about us relationship building, getting to know one another, forming that connection, feeling like we're a team, because we are a team. Cool. Here's what you're going to learn. Basically 4 modules. The first module is just going to get you up and running. And by the way, all of these videos will be made available so that if faculty members would like to see these videos as well, they're more than welcome to do so. But the first module will get you all set up on the classic approach, give you a really good sense of why somebody would want to use peerScholar and how it works, both from the student perspective and the instructor perspective. The second module will just kind of carry on by saying, okay, if they're doing these peerScholar activities, how can they do them in ways that make them extremely powerful pedagogically? So we'll talk about how rubrics can be used, some things you can do to really maximize the feedback learning, both on that, how to give good feedback and how to learn from it. And we'll also have a section focused on the power that can come if you ask students to do things like submit videos instead of written text, the extra engagement and some of the cool things that you can do with videos. So we'll have a section on that in Module 2. Module 3, we'll talk more about, okay, the activity is now created. How do you manage it? How do you grade it? And what can you do with it before and after? So things like outputting reports, and we'll introduce you to the activity library, a library of activities that instructors can use, share, etc. So that'll be Module 3. And then finally in Module 4, we're going to introduce you to some of the additional capabilities of peerScholar. So everything up until this point will be in the context of what we're going to call the classic activity, which is single students assessing other students who worked on the same thing they did. There's a couple of other ways you can use peerScholar. There's the case study module, which is, as implied, very powerful within business contexts, but also usable in many others as well. There's a group work module to get students doing their work as a group and then to assess each other's contributions anonymously afterwards, which is what makes the group work module work. And then at the end, of course, we'll just bring all this together and make sure it all makes sense. And that'll be the course. So 4 modules, watch some videos, do some assessments, come to the virtual sessions. And if you do all that, you will become one of our certified support partners. And literally, you'll be performing such an important function in terms of helping us help your students. I could say thank you over and over again. I won't, but I'm sure you feel that sense. So with all that said, let's rock. let's get going. Alrighty, so thank you very much. I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.